Party Till the Cows Come Home, a rocker by Pig Boy Crabshaw, who was really Elvin Bishop. How'd you get that name, Pig Boy?
I made it up. I make up a lot of different names. Like, I got a bunch. Calvin Tripstone, Romeo Huggins, Riley Twitchett, a bunch more.
You have a lot of country in you, probably more than most people. Do you have roots that go back to the country?
Well, I was raised on a farm in Iowa. I lived there till I was about 12, you know, and then I moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma. They have a lot of country music down there.
It must have been a pig farm.
We grew a lot of hogs, yeah.
Some people that grow up on pig farms hate hogs when they grow older. How about you?
I love them.
Really?
I'm cooking some right now. Did you smell those beans when you came in?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, got 4 or 5 big old juicy ham hocks in there.
But you don't object to them at all then?
No.
That accounts for you wearing the overalls? Your country background?
I guess, I don't know. I can't really account for that kind of stuff. They're really comfortable, you know, and something different to wear.
You started playing on a regular basis back in Chicago, didn't you, or not?
Mm-hmm. About 1960. I started out just playing by myself I'd listen to John Lee Hooker and Lightning Hopkins and old blues cats like that, and I started out playing a dobro with finger picks and stuff like that, you know, thumb pick. And it wasn't for about 2 or 3 years before I started playing electric guitar and trying to play with bands and stuff.
Did you used to go around and hear cats playing live?
Yeah, that's what made me want to change and get with a band. I used to go to clubs like Pepper's and Teresa's and Turner's and Copacabana and all kinds of, or, you know, a million little blues clubs in Chicago at that time. I went around and made friends with all the guitar players, and I'd go over their pads and stay for weeks at a time, and they'd teach me stuff.
How about Bloomfield? Is that where you met up with him?
I met him in Chicago, yeah.
Before you even thought about getting together in the Butterfield band?
Oh, yeah, a long time before.
Because I know he used to go down there and hang out with all the people down there at the club. So you were doing the same thing, essentially, then?
Yeah, more or less. Our paths didn't cross much till about 1965 or so. When I first met him in 1960, he had a rock and roll band. I mean, Stone, you know, they played stuff like Chuck Berry tunes and Johnny and the Hurricanes tunes and stuff like that, you know. And then he quit that and he got into a folk thing, and he was mostly like learning how to play bluegrass and stuff like that for the next few years, as far as I know.
Who would you say really put you on the blues path?
Radio station WLAC, Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah? With John R.?
Yeah, John R., right.
You could pick that up from where? From Iowa?
From Tulsa.
What did he used to play?
Oh, they played all kinds of blues, and there was another station, XERF, in Del Rio, Texas, and they played a lot of Muddy Waters and Little Walter and Jimmy Reed stuff, and they also played R&B stuff, you know.
So that kind of inspired you then?
Yeah, really turned me on. I had a job in a restaurant. I worked 40 hours a week washing dishes after school, you know, when I was in high school, and a bunch of black cats worked there, and they turned me on to some tunes, you know, and places to go and listen to music and things like that. So I started doing that. I really got into it. By the time I got to Chicago, I went to the clubs and I'd get guys to teach me things, you know. The first guy that taught me a lot of stuff and was really a good friend to me was a guy named Smokey Smothers. His name's Abraham Smothers. He has an older brother who's also called Smokey Smothers. His name is Otis Smothers. But the other guy, Abraham, that taught me played like B.B. King and kind of guitar that you heard in those days on Bobby Bland records and stuff like that, you know, Little Milton. I sat in with everybody, you know, Magic Sam, Little Walter, Howlin' Wolf, Muddy, Otis Rush, all those cats. But I played with Junior Wells, worked with him for a little while. Worked with a guy named Hound Dog Taylor in this old joint on the west side. Just the funkiest part of town, nothing but winos and pimps and whores coming there, you know. On intermissions, man, everybody in the joint had a bottle of their own kind of wine, you know.
Was it pretty rough being in Chicago? Did you have to carry a gun?
No, I never did. I just kind of hung around with musicians. I never got in any trouble. I got several cats offered to beat my ass, and I had guns pulled on me, but I was just lucky, you know.
You politely denied it.
I
Denied
just
their
wiggled
offers.
out of it some kind of way. But that joint, man, was so funky. It was called the Glass Hat. And I'd come down on intermissions, you know, and these guys would offer me drinks of wine. I was scared not to accept it, you know. I'd be so tore up by the end of the night, man. It was a shame.
You must have been pretty young when you were in Chicago.
I was about 17 then. I played with a lot of blues groups like J.T. Brown and a lot of groups you never heard of. They were just, you know, bands always breaking up and reforming. I played with like a group called Larry and the Crowd Chasers, the Southside Olympic Blues team, and played with a guy named Baby Huey, this big 400-pound cat who really was a great singer. He just
died recently, right?
Just died, yeah. I was in Chicago.
Where'd you get your singing style? It's a unique style.
Well, right now I'm pretty down on my singing. I don't really have no hell of a voice. But I think eventually, my problem is, I have a real limited range, you know, and a few other technical problems with my voice, but it's just a matter of singing things that are completely right for me. I got to write some tunes for myself, you know.
Well, you did one about your sweet potato.
That's sort of the type of thing I can do fairly well, you know.
Has that been with you a long time, that song?
Oh, a couple years, I guess.
1, 2, 3, 4. woman that I'm loving, folks, has got a shape like a frog. But that ain't so bad. She smells like a hog. But I love her. Oh, I love her just the same. Yes, I do. 'Cause she is my little sweet potato. Oh, and I just love that little ugly thing. Oh, yeah. She's got a great big nose and two crossed eyes. She looked kind of like a wreck that happened last 4th of July. But I love her. Oh, I love her just the same. Yeah, she is my little sweet potato. Boy, and I just love that little ugly thing. All right. Blow your harmonicas out. Oh, yeah. She drinks a whole lot of whiskey, folks. Beer, wine, and gin. But she's such a beautiful woman for the shape she's in. Yes, I love her. Oh, I love her just the same. She is my little old sweet potato. And boy, when I get up in the morning, I look over on the bed beside me, and there lays a little pretty thing, her own self. I look down on the floor beside the bed and see all them false fingernails, false eyelash, and false everything else. Then I look down there and see them empty bottles. Come on, help me, fellas, one more time. I see them bottles. Boy, I said I seen some bottles down there. They got Thunderbird wine, Gordon's gin, and Bullfrog beer. And then I look over there and see the little kitty cat tipping across the bedroom with the red wig in his mouth. And then she looks up at me sweetly, looks up into my eyes and says, "Baby." She says, "Baby." I said, "What?" She said, "Baby, I love you." With one eye going this way and the other eye going that way. Boy, when all that stuff happens, I'm telling you, when a fella gets up in the morning, rolls over, blinks his eyes, and sees what I've seen, boy, love that little ugly thing.
That's from your first album, isn't it? Sweet Potato?
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty funny song. It's even more funny in person because you really draw it out sometimes. But what about Gordon's Gin? That's sung in the same kind of humor vein. I understand that there was almost some legal trouble from Gordon's Gin on that song. Is that right?
Yeah, the last time I was at Butterfield's house, he showed me a letter he got from Gordon Gin's lawyers threatening to sue him for, they said something like, our gin has been #1 for 200 years. Let us know when you've been on the charts that long.
My woman says it's a doggone shame the way some men bring their wives money and furs and jewelry. And I come home, ain't got a dime, and smelling like a brewery. I'm drunk again. I've been drinking Gordon's gin. Well, I tried to quit, but it ain't no use. I just can't cut that juice loose. Gin has got me to the place where I don't know what to do. My wife has quit me and my girlfriend too. I'm drunk again. I've been drinking Gordon's gin. Well, I tried to quit, but it just ain't no use. I can't cut that juice loose. No, I can't quit it. My old lady's gone too. Boy. I guess I'll go ahead and take me a walk. Might make me feel better. I guess I'll go on by old John's Tavern. See what's happening down there. Sound like the joint swinging this evening. Look at all the pretty chicks. I'll swan. There's old Dinwiddie. What's happening, son? How you been doing? I ain't seen you in a long time. And Wilson, too. Boy. Look at here. Hey, John! How about a little taste? You know what I want. Give me a big old glass, one of them good old bitters, a big old glass of gin. That's exactly what I need. Sure feels good. Give me another one. Yeah. Things are starting to look better, y'all. Yeah! Come here, girl. What's your name? What's your name, girl? Say what? All right, you be like that. Crabshaw don't care. Yeah, I'm having a good time. That's old Butterfield's band up there, ain't it? Sure sounding good. Boy, I love that music. All right. That's what I like about Chicago. I love good music and I love good gin. John, set him up again. I like that stuff. Woo! I believe I'm getting drunk. Drunk in Grandpa's old yellow hall. feel like playing my own self. Yes, I do.
They never bothered you anymore on that song.
No.
Have you ever sung that since?
I haven't sung it since I was with Butterfield.
What were those days like?
I had a lot of fun playing with that band. Really good people, you know, good musicians, and I learned a lot. I think it was a good break for me playing with that band.
Was Butterfield, did he really hold it together? Was he I know he was the lead singer and it was his name, but was he like the cat who was always calling the shots?
More or less, as far as mechanical things like getting to the gig on time and hiring and firing and things like that, you know, and taking care of the bread. Butter's a pretty strong leader, you know. The music was developed more or less cooperatively, you know.
Do you think you got more out of that band than any other?
Probably, if only for the reason that, well, for two reasons. Because there were such good musicians in it, and because we worked so steady and so long, you know. We played before we went on the road, before we made that album, we played for about a year and a half, 6 nights a week, about 6 or 7 sets a night in the same club, Big John's in Chicago.
6 or 7 sets a night?
Sure, yeah. You play from 9 till 4 on weekdays and till 5 on Saturdays.
Ooh.
And it's one band.
I wish I could have been back to hear the old band, because I once heard a tape made, you know.
We did a lot of stuff that never got on record.
Stuff in studios?
Well, the first thing that happened was, you know how rock and roll groups get huge bonuses these days, you know, and everything is, you know, things with record companies are fairly easy. In those days, at least from where we were completely unhip to the business side of music, you know, or the pop scene or whatever, you know, because all we did was playing these funky joints in Chicago. And this guy came in, this hippie from New York, you know, and he offered Butterfield a contract, and, you know, getting a contract was an amazing thing in itself, you know. So Butter signed up. Maybe he got some little small amount of hundreds of dollars in cash, you know, in front.
This is for Elektra?
Yeah, and they took us in the studio, and they told us to record everything we knew. We recorded about 30 songs for the first album. They've got all the rest of that stuff in the can.
Oh, man. And that was good days, too.
Yeah.
I mean, the band really sounded good.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in the can. There's another album, at least, of Chicago blues in there, you know. Same quality as the stuff that's on the first album.
baby, if it takes all night and day. What a lonesome feeling when you're by yourself. What a lonesome feeling when you're by yourself. Yes, the one that you love has gone off with someone else. Well, you know I love you, baby. Wonder the reason why. Gone and left me, baby. Left me here to cry. Blues with a feeling. That's what I have today. I've got to find my baby if it takes all night and day. Yes, the one that you love has gone off with someone else. Well, you know I love you, baby. Wonder the reason why. You've gone and left me, baby. Left me here to cry. Blues with a feeling. That's what I have today. I've got to find my baby if it takes all night and day.
I used to hear complaints from people who said that album was badly mixed, people that were in the band at the time. Do you feel that was true?
I remember I did at the time. I haven't listened to it in so long that I wouldn't want to give an opinion right now.
It had a down-to-earth feeling, though. That was probably one of the first albums that introduced a lot of young people to blues. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate that people didn't get hip to the black musicians as much as to a primarily white group, although the drummer and the bass player were black in the original Butterfield Blues Band.
People that don't know anything about music, which is a great majority of people, they just want somebody to identify with, somebody that can move them, you know, and they can identify, most white people can identify with a white musician a lot quicker than they can a black musician, you know. Face it, there's a whole lot of people out there. As a matter of fact, I'd say the majority of people who buy records don't really know anything about music, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because you can't expect music to be as big a part of everyone's life as it is of, say, a musician's, you know. But they're there just for the feeling that they can get out of it, you know, without really knowing what's happening musically. And that's why a lot of people can't tell that Muddy Waters sings his tunes better than the Rolling Stones do, or that Howlin' Wolf sings his tunes better than the Rolling Stones do. All they know is that it's easier to identify with Mick Jagger jumping around and clowning on the stage, you know, and to get a feeling off of that for them than it is to see Muddy Waters standing up perfectly straight in a suit and tie and singing his.
Yeah, yeah.
Weird old spade cat, they can't identify with him.
With the Butterfield band being on the road, was that pretty difficult?
Not really. Not considering the schedule that we kept up. For 3 years, we were playing on the average 5 days a week. We were away from home so much that
Where was home then? Chicago?
Chicago. I just gave up my apartment and lived out of a suitcase for 3 years. After we were around the circuit a couple of times, I had friends in every town, and I'd just go stay with them. And we were used to working hard, it didn't bother us.
But all that traveling.
Yeah, I really dug it at the time.
Could you afford to fly everywhere?
Towards the end we could, but most of the time for the first couple of years we spent riding around in the back of the equipment bus.
Like B.B. King used to do, and like so many blues people do nowadays. Just travel over the country in that style.
Once in a while we would catch somebody with a car.
Did you enjoy the shows out in San Francisco? As I recall, Fillmore was probably the first place that you guys played out here.
Yeah, San Francisco really wigged me out the first time I came out here. It was a lot of fun. A lot of nice chicks I met and stuff.
Because it was a good time to come, too. It was, what, 66, 67 when the whole scene was kind of new.
Yeah.
And since that time, then you've moved to San Francisco.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
What's happening with what you're doing now? Bring us up to date on exactly what's going on now and who's with the group and how it formed and everything.
I started getting the group together a couple of years ago, I guess, and at first I was doing all the singing in the group, and I gradually began to realize that wasn't making it because I'm just not a heavy enough singer for people to listen to an hour at a time, I wanted to do a little bigger variety of things than just blues, too, because I like all kinds of things, especially gospel music. And I like soul music and old R&B and stuff like that, and old country blues, and even country music. So I gradually started adding people. Steve Miller, the organist, who used to be the leader of Lynn County, he's really a good organist, also plays piano and sings. Tried a couple different bass players. Now I have a guy named Kip Merkline, really a really good bass player. Drummer named John Chambers, he's been with me from the beginning. He's really playing good these days. And a girl I'd known for a long time from Boston joined the group about a year ago. Her name's Jo Baker. She's a beautiful singer. Just recently we've added 3 more chicks, the Pointer Sisters. They're from Oakland. Bonnie, Anita, and June. They sang for a while with Edwin Hawkins singers. They had Oh Happy Day, And their father's a preacher and their uncle's a preacher, and they were raised in the church. They're really good singers and they're nice people, and they add a lot to the group.
You originally had Applejack with you, right, on harp,
Yeah, that's right.
and then it changed it from a harp sounding group. Really, it's got a whole new sound now. Your first album had Applejack on it, didn't it?
Yes.
There's a really nice track on there, the Tulsa Shuffle. I don't know if Applejack, does he play on that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you play that anymore?
We haven't played it in a long time. I'm thinking about getting a new arrangement on it, doing it again.
Tells a shuffle from the first Elvin Bishop album, Elvin Bishop Group on Fillmore label. And your new album was cut in San Francisco, right?
Mercury Studios on Mission Street, yeah.
Did you have much trouble doing it, or did it go down real fast?
Pretty fast, pretty fast. It was pretty easy, especially compared to the first one. The stuff's a lot more together, and I expect the next album to be a really great album. It's going to be easy to do, too.
Do you enjoy recording much?
I'm getting to the place where I enjoy it. I didn't used to because of, well, when I was with Butterfield, we used to have to record in all these studios in L.A. and New York and everything, and all these union engineers, old cats who didn't care about the music at all, would just sit up there eating a sandwich while you're trying to play your soul and stuff, you know. It's really a drag.
Is it hard to play just in a studio without an audience? Do you find it hard?
Well, that's not so much it. I think the reason I didn't enjoy recording at first is because I felt kind of insecure about what I was playing, and that's why I'm getting to feel much better about it because
it's your own group now, too.
Yeah, and I'm just confident of the stuff we're doing, you know.
How about live recording?
We're going to do one New Year's Eve at the Fillmore.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
In San Francisco?
Uh-huh.
Live would really capture the group at its present form. You have a track on here you mentioned on your new album now, which has the group pretty much as it is.
Yeah, it's called I Just Can't Go On. It was written by Jo Baker, one of the girls who sings in the group, and she sings the lead, and the Pointer Sisters are singing the background, and it's really a nice tune. I like it.
2 tracks from the new album. You've been on tour now for a while. I understand you went to the Midwest. And did some
Yeah,
touring.
no long tours. We just been out for a couple of weeks each time. We were in Texas and Oklahoma for a while. Then we went to New York, and then we came back and went back to Boston and Chicago.
Did you play the Fillmore?
Mm-hmm. I played with BB and Butter.
Wow. Ooh, what a show.
It was really fun, yeah.
A lot of Gordon's Gin and B&O and...
A lot of everything. A lot of jamming, too. Had some
Really?
good jams with BB, yeah.
What do you predict for the future with the group, or what? You just want to keep playing
Yeah.
till you're ripe and old?
Yes. I'm kind of glad that things are going so slow. We're not making any money now. I think we will be pretty soon, though, and I think the group's going to be successful. But
You mean a band that plays locally, even if they play all the clubs in the Bay Area, it's really hard to make it?
you don't make no money. And I split all the money up even. I don't take any huge fee for being the leader or anything. Not making any money is a good thing, is a blessing in disguise in one way. It really keeps you working on your music. Keeps you at it. Every day that we don't play, we rehearse, as a rule.
What kind of tips would you give somebody who's just learning to play the guitar?
When I first started playing the guitar, I gave up about 3 times before I stuck with it because it made my fingers hurt and I couldn't seem to get nothing out of it. The main thing is just stick with it. Listen to the type of music that you like and try to play that, and don't let nobody get you on a trip playing something that you don't want to, like learning to read classical music and stuff like that. If you don't dig it, don't do it, you know.
Do you read music now?
I can read it kind of slow, you know. I can't sight read. I mean, I can't pick up a piece of sheet music and play it off, but I can slowly and laboriously pick it out. Reading music hasn't been of much value to me.
Uh-huh.
My type of music.
How about any other instruments?
A little bit of harmonica is about all. I'm fooling around with the piano now. Can't play very good.
But you can work it out. You can.
Yeah, it's good for different ideas. You get a different approach from a different instrument, you know. Naturally leads you to play different things.
You have an interesting effect you get on your guitar. I've heard one other person here do it. It's a weird sound. Yeah. Can you describe how you do that?
Do a trill with your left hand, like this. Reach around behind it with your right hand and pick up the string, and it tightens the tension and it raises the pitch.
It's just bending it from above instead of. I see.
You can also do it this way.
How's that?
Push the string down behind the bridge, and it raises it too.
Not too many people seem to use that. I've only heard one other person that does that. Who was it? Oh, Hendrix did that.
He
I
does
heard
it a
on-
different way.
Or he did it.
He had, his guitar has one of these wah-wah bars on it, you know? A tremolo bar, it's called. He had his bridge set so loose that he could drop any string he wanted to an octave, you know, and that's how he did it. He would get the trill going with his left hand and then hit that bar, and it would go down instead of up, you know.
Do you use very light strings on the guitar?
I used to. I'm using heavier ones now because I'm looking for a little cleaner sound in the first place. And I play a lot of chords behind the chicks, you know, and you get a much cleaner chord sound with heavier strings.
Why would that be?
It has to do with my personal way of playing, for one thing, because I hit the strings real hard. It's not good. I'm trying to lighten up my touch, you know. It's bad technique to hit the strings hard, but when I start feeling it, I just beat it. If you hit light gauge strings real hard, they'll go slightly out of tune, you know, and you get extra noises that you don't want.
Uh-huh. Do you think that you can learn much more on the guitar?
Oh, man. Worlds of stuff. I'm learning stuff every day. I'm making more progress now than I was 10 years ago.
You've been playing how long then?
10 years.
Oh, that's good. You mean the rate of learning new things comes to you quicker now?
Yeah. The technical thing isn't really the problem with guitar playing, I'm convinced. I mean, learning to make different complicated runs. The hard part of becoming a good musician is having things fall in place in your head, your concept of the music, you know, knowing what to do, you know. For instance, I have enough technique now that I could play much better than I do now if I had my concept straight enough, you know. So I'm looking forward to improving for the next 20 years.
Well, let's close the show with a tune played live.
What do you want to hear?
Anything you want to play.
In the alley or in the street, every little boy you meet doing that rag, that McClosky rag. It will drive your blues away. They're doing it night and day, doing that rag, that McClosky rag.
Thank you so much, Elvin Bishop, doing the, what was that called?
The McClosky rag. Before we finish things up, how'd you like the beans, man?
Oh, yeah, there's harmony grits and black-eyed peas.
Not hominy grits, man. Ham hocks.
Ham hocks.
And black-eyed peas, yeah.
It's real good, real tasty. A little bit of solo there by Elvin Bishop from the LP Driftin' and Driftin'. And when we did the program, Elvin was talking about his black-eyed peas, and we had a big pot of it cooking there. And we recorded that over at Keystone Corner last Wednesday. And he's a good cook, too, by the way. He said one thing which I didn't really feel I could fit in to the program itself. So basically that concludes the program on Elvin Bishop. But he did have something to say about this one job he had in his past history. He mentioned this, and I think it's kind of interesting.
I had a job breaking toys in New York. Did I tell you about that? Well, in 1963, I went to New York. I was going to try to go to Denmark. I don't know why I wanted to go to Denmark, but I got sick, and I stayed in the hospital for a long time. And when I came out, I was broke, and I stayed in this apartment down in the Puerto Rican section, and it was no heat, and it was a dead of winter. And I lived on beans and bacon ends for about 2 months. I tried to get a job as a dishwasher. I walked all the way from 10th Street to 116th Street along Broadway and couldn't get a job. Finally, the Christmas rush came, and so I went and got a job at this department store called S. Klein's on the square, one of these cheapy department stores, you know. Mm-hmm. And they gave me a gig in the toy department, and my job was to sit back in the stockroom. They would send back all the toys that didn't sell from last year. They needed to get rid of them, so me and these other two cats would sit back there and break all the toys all day long, thousands of toys, and put them in boxes marked damage upon arrival so that they could get a refund from the manufacturer. It got so boring, man, till they had this one toy. It was called Garloo the Moon Monster. It was a big robot, you know, green plastic robot with roller skates on his feet, around with flashlight batteries, you know. Mm-hmm. And we would sit in the chair and run Garloo and have him pick up the other toys and smash them.
It sounds like that job didn't have any influence on your musical career, did it? You never smashed any guitars?
I did once in Chicago.
Purposely?
Yes, I was drunk. I got mad and smashed my guitar.
It never happened again since, so.
No.
What do you think about people that do that?
Do what?
Smash their guitars.
Oh, you mean as part of an act?
Yeah.
That's their trip. They got it.
Elvin Bishop talking about smashing guitars and breaking toys. This has been Dan McClosky for the past hour, an interview with Elvin Bishop.